Okay, good morning everybody. We're back in the marina again. We're just going to wash it down, get ready to go out. It's Tuesday this morning. We're not going to go out till Thursday. It's a bank holiday here in Portugal on Thursday, so we're going to get out. We're also going to go out at the weekend, so we'll be vlogging that with you as well. But today I'm going to talk you through all of the controls at the helm station, all the little buttons around the boat, what they do, what their functions are, and how we use them as we go on our trips, on our cruises, etc. And show you some of the bits ones that we use occasionally, some that we use all the time. So hope this is interesting for you, and if I miss anything out, please drop me a line in the comments and I'll go back and answer it for you if I can. So we're going to start here at the stern of the boat as we board on the transom. First thing you come across here is the Glendenning cable reel. So this is the thing that we put shore power to. It comes out of there. It's done electronically. There's a little button just beside it here. You press it in, it goes in. You press it out, it comes out. There's about 35 meters of cable on there, so that's more than long enough to take it over where we're going over to, usually the electrical points on the marinas. So that's the first button that we find there. We also notice that there's a Capstan Winch there, electronic one. Very rarely we use them on our own marinas, but we do use them in the Med when we're berthing stern to onto a hard pontoon rather than a floating pontoon. And they are controlled by these little buttons down here on the floor. Flip that up and you can operate that with your toe. You'll notice if I press that, you'll see the winch turn. And you have a similar setup on the opposite side here. Another stern winch. And there's the control there for that winch. Here we've got a shower, hot and cold shower. Great when you're coming out of the sea and you're boarding off the back. And then from there, moving forward, first set of controls that we hit are these three controls here. The first one here is for the underwater lights. The second one is for the engine room lights. So that's the engine room spaces and the lights in the lazarette are turned on from there. And the second one is a rocker switch. It rolls backwards and forwards, and that controls the rise and fall of the rear tender garage. I'll operate it now, you'll hear it beep, and then I'll put it all the way up, but I'll let you have a quick look. Hopefully you can see that rising. Drop it back down, we don't want to keep it up all day. There we are. So those are those switches there. The next lot of switches you come to are the controls for the passerelle. This is made by Bezzanzoni. So we have an auto exit which sends the out first of all. I'll show you that in a moment. You also have an auto retract. You have an auto out which extends the second stage of the passerelle out, and that's the telescopic in, so it telescopes back in, and this being the rise and fall. And it also controls the lights on the stern of the boat. So you can see now it's coming out on its way out there, and from there, if you want to press the telescope out for the second stage, keeping your finger on the button this time, it's not automatic, it folds up and the rail comes out. Obviously, if you are in the Med, there is a small tide, about ½ meter or something like that, and you can rise that up if you're suddenly a bit low on the dock. The passerelle can come up and still allow you to get on and off the dock as you need. By pressing the automatic in, it will send itself right back in automatically. That's not quite gone now. Should have had that in there. And you'll notice that the letterbox flips itself back up and seals itself off. These controls here, we also have a remote control so that when you're on the dock, if you're off the boat, you can send it back in so nobody can get on the boat, and then send it back out again under remote control. Okay, now then, up to the helm. So, 2 helm seats, both are down at the moment. Put that one back up so I get in. and then we'll have a look at the helm itself and all the switches that go with it. So here we have a row of switches. We'll run through them all in a moment, what they all do. We have controls for the air conditioning up here. Simply pressing that will turn the air conditioning on. It's switched off at the main panel at the moment, but if we did, we could have that on. And then we've got our chart plotter and the various controls on that, and that's also the rudder, the radar system. So it sets both. You can split the screen in half, or you can have it dedicated to one or the other. We very rarely use the radar where we're going. If we're in some heavy traffic, if we're in traffic lanes, we use it. If we're in fog, we use it. Other than that, we tend not to bother. We just have it set to the chart plotter. But we have the radar switched on, but we just don't display it on this screen. So it's pinging away so people can see us, but if there's an alarm, then we'd see it. But we don't normally have the two screens on together. I won't run through all of this. That's a big long system of how you program that in, and I'll do that in a separate video. From there then, you've got a dial here just above the steering wheel, which is, I'm trying to get a shot at it without doing it. I'm not doing that very well. Let's try and get above it. This is then your depth sounder. It's set in feet at the moment, but you can set it to meters. It gives you your speed, as well as being displayed upon your chart plotter. It's displayed here, speed over the ground, and it also gives you a trip meter. From there then, let's have a quick look at these switches that we go in. The first switch you've got here controls the sliding roof. So I press on this button here, you'll hear it ping, you'll see the roof start to move. Won't do that all together, then back the other way. Okay, second set you've got here are your anchor lights. So that puts on the rear white light at the back to show that you're at anchor. These are your steaming lights. So these are the lights that show when you're underway. That shows you a white light on top of the radar mast, and it shows you your port side and starboard side red and green lights respectively. These are the main cockpit lights. That puts the lights on, and it also illuminates the lights at the back of the boat on the bathing platform. You've then got your dials and instrumentation, which is switched on at the moment. That gives you all of these dials activated here. I'll run through those for you in a moment. And then you've got your autopilot. We've got that switched on at the moment because I'll show you the autopilot, which is just down here to the left hand side. And there you go, that is your Marine autopilot, currently in standby. But if you want it to follow a track, you can set that there by simply hitting the auto button, and it will follow whichever course you're set on. To turn it off, you simply hit the standby. This will adjust you by 1 degree to port or to starboard, or 10 degrees to port and to starboard, just by hitting that, but still keep the autopilot on whilst underway. This track button here is linked back to the chart plotter, so you can hit track, and between the two of them they talk to each other, and it will follow a track that you set on the couple of chart plotter. You'll see the track showing there, but it will track you and keep you on that track until you hit a waypoint that you set, when it will sound an alarm telling you that you need to change course. Obviously you can't leave the autopilot on and leave unattended. You have to keep a watch out, otherwise if there's something in the way, it will just hit it. It's not an intelligent system. So back to the switches. Beyond that, you've got the horn switch there, and then the anchor controls. Obviously pressing it at the top lowers the anchor, pressing it up retrieves the anchor. As well as that, that's linked here, and the anchor is linked to the chain counter, so you can see how many meters of chain you've got out. Okay, we also have a remote control for this, which is you can hang around in your pocket. So if you're up by the anchor itself and you want to control it from there or from anywhere on the boat, you can simply use the remote control to control the anchor winches. You've then got a Clarion Control for your onboard music, etc., and all the CDs and stuff that's on the boat, and the MP3 function that's got there. You can control all of that from there. And then from here you've got your switches for the control of your pilot seat or your co-pilot seat from here. So by pressing this, sends the co-pilot seat, you'll see it move, sends it out, and sends it back, etc. If you're there. The other one is the windscreen washer, obviously. These are your windscreen wipers as an intermediate, so they will do it slowly there. And these are your two independent switches for the windscreen wipers. Then you have three switches here, which are the override switches for your bilges. Rear bilge, central bilge, forward bilge, and by doing that, you can put them on. You'll hear a small alarm sound to let you know that the bilge pumps are running, and that means you can override it. The bilges are automatic, but if there's any water in there and for whatever reason the automatic switch doesn't work, that is your override and will allow you to pump water out of the bilges should there be any in there. Coming back this way, you've got a couple of switches here. So these are your trim tabs. Obviously pressing it forward sends the bow down. It controls the hydraulics on the trim tabs, pushing them up and down to level the boat out should she need it. Same then, pulling them back turns it back. You have then the switch for the searchlight, the directional searchlight, which is above on the back of the boat. You'll see there, it's pointed over to the side at the moment. But that switch turns that light on and off, and then just below it you have the directional control for that, so that makes the light spin around or go up or down. Above that you have on off for your bow thruster, and then the bow thruster control. So it's off at the moment, but if you press that it would send it to starboard. If you press it that side it will send it to port. Up to the dials at the top we have a magnetic compass should you need to use it for whatever reason. Always good to keep an eye on it so you know that you're heading off in the right direction. And then you've got a set of dials for each engine on either side, and the two central dials being this one and this one, that is your fuel tanks. You can see we filled up the other day. We've used probably I don't know, about 1/8 of a tank of that on our little trip down to Ferragudo and back the other day. And then below that you've got the rudder position. You'll see it's got a little green and red indicator showing whether your rudder's set to starboard or central, and if I were to move, the engines are not running, but if I were to move the hydraulics on, that would swing across. Either side of that then you've got your alarms for each engine. This one for the starboard engine, this one for the port side engine, and they would light up and an alarm would sound if there was anything wrong with the batteries or with the engine or with the oil pressure or anything like that. Above that, next to that then, sorry, you've got your engine temperature gauges. Next to that you've got your oil pressure just above it, and then off to the side you've got your voltmeters showing how much energy is in the batteries or is being generated by the alternators as you run through. The same is repeated on the starboard side. You've got your rev counters, alarms, oil temperature, oil pressure and voltmeter, and they should all be reading equally if things are going well. Within each of the two rev counters that you have there to the tachometers, you'll notice there is a little LCD screen. It's currently showing the engine hours on each engine, but using the Volvo engine controls down here you can toggle between the two engines. So at the minute that's off, and that would show there, and that will put you onto the other side engine, and that will allow you then using this toggle button to toggle through the various settings on that, and that will give you your ability to put the engines into neutral using this button, and to remove it from there, and also to lock the functions on this if you want. That's your return button, obviously on those LCD screens. If you want to go from one function to the other, it sends you back along it. It will also show you your fuel status for each tank separately, and it will also give you an alarm once you get below your 20% reserve. Next to that you've got your two throttles, obviously port side, starboard side. One click ahead and back into neutral, and then throttle beyond that. They're electronic, so it's not actually pointing anything through it in the moment because it's not turned on. Next to that then you have your keys, two keys, one for each engine, and then because it was fitted afterwards as an aftermarket thing, we have a stern thruster by side power there. 2 buttons turn it on at the same time. 1 button turns it off. It will turn itself off automatically after a while. And then you have your joystick control either way to control that. To the rear of that, we've got our Marine Vhf, which is again linked to the Autopilot, so it gets its positioning from there. And then just to the rear of that, you've got 2 switches again, which control the electric seat for the captain's seat. So backwards, forwards, up and down, all the way around, down and up. As well as having that horn that we had here, which is your normal horn system, on the side here we have another horn button. That horn button is for fog. By switching it on, you will get a blast and it will stop. It will keep going, then every 10 seconds it will give you another blast of the horn for about 2 seconds, just so people can hear you. So those are the controls aboard Motor Yacht Andrezza. I hope this was interesting for you. If there's anything I've missed, please let me know and I'll go back and try and cover it again for you in the next video before we set off. Hopefully we're back out again on Thursday, as I said, and we'll be certainly back out on Saturday. We'll go a little bit further this time, probably the other direction. We'll head east, probably to the islands, but I'll let you know closer to the day. Speak to you soon, guys. Bye.